psychological truths about women that will change the way you see them. You've seen it hundreds of times on magazine covers, in films, and all over the internet. The image of the voluptuous woman, especially one with a large chest, portrayed as if she was born to be seductive. For decades, society has pushed a message that women with large breasts are naturally more sexual, more confident, more experienced. But here's the truth, the one few people talk about behind closed doors. A woman with a large chest is often far more emotionally complex, psychologically deep, and sensitive than people imagine. The stereotype is easy to believe, it's been sold to us our entire lives. She walks into a room, and all eyes turn to her. People assume she's confident, playful, maybe even provocative, but that image is only surface level. In real life, a woman's sexuality, especially when she has a body that constantly draws attention, is shaped by much more than her appearance. It's about how safe she feels, about how deeply she can trust, about how connected she is to her own body, and how respected she feels within it. That's where the truth begins. And it looks very different from the fantasy. Let's talk about something most men rarely think about: the psychology of touch. Just because something looks soft or attractive doesn't mean it wants to be touched, grabbed, or handled carelessly. In reality, for many women with large breasts, that part of the body can be a zone of intense sensitivity, even hypersensitivity. Everything depends on how you touch, and more importantly, the emotional energy behind the touch. For her, arousal isn't about clumsy hands or impatient fingers. It's about emotional presence, the kind of touch that is in tune with her, that honors her boundaries, that listens without words. The psychology of a woman's body, what most men don't understand, in the feeling of being respected, not consumed. There's a massive difference between being looked at and being truly seen. And this is where many men go wrong. They focus on what they see, not on what she feels. They assume pleasure is automatic, when in reality, most women, especially those whose bodies have been sexualized for years, are aroused more by emotional safety than physical stimulation. It's not just about what she looks like. It's about how much she trusts and how connected she is to her own body. That's where the truth begins, and it looks nothing like the fantasy. Let's talk about something most men rarely consider: the psychology of touch. Just because something looks soft or tempting doesn't mean it wants to be touched or handled without intention or care. In truth, for many women with large breasts, that area can be one of intense sensitivity, even hypersensitivity. Everything depends on how you touch, and more importantly, on the emotional energy behind the touch. Arousal, especially for her, is not about rough hands or impatient fingers. It's about emotional presence. It's about attuned touch. And it's about the feeling of being respected, not consumed. There's a huge difference between someone staring at her body and someone truly seeing her as a whole person. Again, this is where most men go wrong. They focus on the surface, but they miss the signals of her inner world. They assume that because she's hot, she must automatically enjoy the attention, the pressure, the physical escalation. But the truth, most women, especially those whose appearance has been sexualized from a young age, don't crave touch nearly as much as they crave emotional safety. And here's something most never realize: from the moment she hit puberty, she was told, be sexy, be wanted, be liked, smile more. Her body became a performance, a costume, a battlefield. That's why sometimes she disconnects from her own body. It's a form of emotional survival, to protect herself from a world that consumes her image but never asks how she feels inside. The moment she feels safe, everything changes. A beautiful truth. Healing begins when she's with someone who sees beyond all of it, someone who values her mind, her soul, her laughter, not just her breasts. That's when she starts to feel safe enough to reconnect with her full self. And when that happens, her erotic intelligence awakens. You see, many women with larger breasts have learned to live under constant attention, often unwanted. But when they find someone they trust, someone who doesn't just look but also listens, they begin to explore parts of themselves they never felt permission to express before. Some become adventurous, playful, even wild and bad, not because they feel pressured, but because, for the first time, They feel free. For them, sex isn't just an orgasm, it's a process, an emotional revelation, a dance between the heart, the body, and the soul. And that dance requires something so simple, yet so rare: communication. Clear, loving, open. Women with larger breasts are often misunderstood in intimacy because partners make assumptions. They assume pleasure without asking. They assume confidence without checking how she really feels. But here's what she truly desires: someone who asks her what she enjoys, someone who listens to her yes and respects her no. When you do that, you show her she's not just a body, she's valuable. And that changes everything. Because when a woman feels valued, she gives back in ways that most never see behind closed doors. When her emotional needs are met, she becomes one of the most affectionate, generous, and giving lovers you'll ever meet. She doesn't perform, she offers. Not because she feels obligated, but because she feels deeply desired for who she truly is. And that emotional connection, it unlocks something beautiful within her. Her pleasure becomes deeper, more meaningful, and unforgettable. Something powerful happens when a woman feels emotionally safe. She transforms. When you see her soul before her body, everything changes. When a woman feels emotionally seen before you ever touch her physically, she leaves behind a tension she's been carrying for years. She breathes differently. She opens in ways that have nothing to do with technique and everything to do with trust. And then, you're no longer making love just to her body. Sex is no longer just an act, it becomes lovemaking. And that kind of intimacy, it's not just rare, it's transformational. You both walk away changed. Now let's talk about what her breasts truly mean to many women. They're not just sexual, they are symbolic. They represent femininity, identity, and often care and motherhood. So when a woman's body is reduced to a mere object of desire, it can feel like something sacred is being violated. That's why her real pleasure is multi-layered. She wants to be seen as beautiful but also respected. She wants to be touched but also valued. She wants to be desired but never diminished. When you truly understand this, you begin to see her differently. She's not just more in terms of curves. She is more in complexity, in emotional depth, in sensitivity. She is more human than any fantasy allows space for. And if you approach her with patience, presence, and emotional depth, she doesn't just respond. She reveals herself. And when she feels free to be her whole self, what you share with her isn't just physical. It becomes unforgettable. There is something deeply fulfilling about being that man, the one who sees past the surface, who senses her insecurities without judgment, who touches with care, speaks with honesty, loves with presence. When you show up like that, you give her the permission to be fully herself. And in return, she offers something rare, a true intimacy, rooted, soulful, real. So the next time someone makes a joke or assumption about a woman with a larger chest, remember, you're not looking at just a body. You're looking at a story, a woman, a heart. And the man who sees that not just what's visible will experience a kind of love most will never know. She's not just a body, she's a soul waiting to be seen. Next time you hear someone say she's easy in bed, remember this: she's carrying far more than you think, not just physically, but emotionally. Her body might light up a room, but it's her heart that truly makes her shine. And when you honor both, you unlock something sacred, a connection that goes beyond sex. You begin to truly know her. If you've ever loved a woman in this way, or if you want to learn how, remember this: she doesn't want to be your fantasy. She wants to be your truth. The woman you listen to, the woman you hold gently, the woman you see fully in all her strength, tenderness, history, and hope. When you meet her in that space, you don't just offer her safety, you offer her life. If this message spoke to you, if it gave you a new perspective or reminded you of someone you love, share it. By subscribing to this channel, you join us in exploring the psychology, emotions, and hidden truths behind human behavior, relationships, and the inner world of women, especially through the lens of real, mature connection. So join us. Be part of a community that values depth over appearance and truth over fantasy. Until next time, take care of yourself and those you love. She's not easy, she's just finally safe enough to be free. Some men see with their eyes, but never with their hearts. They want to touch her, but not with respect. They want to desire her, but not to devour her. To a woman, her breasts are not just sexual. They are symbols of femininity, motherhood, and vulnerability. They hold stories about how she sees herself, how she grew up, and how she's been seen by others. When you touch her without awareness, without hearing her emotionally, something inside her shuts down. But when a man shows up with sensitivity, emotional presence, and respect, something else awakens. Her erotic intelligence. That's when she becomes playful, wild, tender, and fully free in the bedroom. Not because you asked her to, but because she feels safe. For her, eroticism doesn't begin on her skin. It begins in your eyes, in your tone, and in your intention. She wants someone who asks what she enjoys, who listens to her yes and honors her no, someone who sees her completely, not just her beauty, but her strength, her insecurities, her desires, and her wounds. When she feels seen, she gives you something rare and profound: intimacy that's based not on performance, but on connection. Sex becomes expression, a language, a reflection, not a show to impress you, but a gift because you made her feel seen, understood, and honored. So next time someone makes a joke about a woman being easy or lucky just because of her big breasts, remember, she may be carrying a weight you can't see. Emotional, cultural, personal. Her body may light up a room, but it's her soul that fills it with meaning. And if you are the kind of man who doesn't want her as a fantasy but as a truth, if you are the one who truly sees her, not just looks at her, then she will give you something many men will never experience. A woman who feels safe, alive, and free in your arms. And that is unforgettable. Subscribe to our channel here. We explore psychology, emotional intimacy, relationships, and the hidden truths of the feminine inner world through the lens of mature, real connection. If this spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Truths of human nature. Become part of a community that values depth over appearance and truth over fantasy. Until next time, take care of yourself and those you love.